Once again, we welcome you to Moving Forward with Young Voices. We are happy to welcome Agustina Sosa back to the program. This is not your first time on Moving Forward with Young Voices. Please take a moment to introduce yourself and to tell us about who you are.
Well, hi, Bryan. Thank you so much for having me again. It's such a pleasure. Well, my name is Agustina. You can call me Nina if it's easier. I am a journalist and international affairs specialist. I'm from Argentina. Right now, I'm living in the beautiful city of Buenos Aires. And I was part of the Young Voices program, to the contributors program. Sorry, that word, it's kind of hard to say for me.
No
Thank
problem
you
at
for
all.
having me again. Thank you for having me again. Such a pleasure.
Well, I don't know if I should feel a little bit jealous or not. On the one hand, some very positive things have been happening in the U.S. Since Donald Trump was reelected. On the other hand, when I think about somebody who's very serious about freedom, Javier Milei, the president of Argentina, definitely has gone in and shaken things up. And I'm looking at an article that you've written for freethepeople.org about how there's kind of a very curious transnational bromance between President
Yes.
Trump and President Milei. Spell that out for us. What does that look like?
Well, first of all, I want to share something with you. That title, it wasn't the original title that I thought for the op-ed, because at the beginning, I was seeing this particular bond between Milei and Trump as something just political. Two important country leaders exchanging political interests. That was it. But when I started to take a deeper look in the way they interact with each other, I guess I said, this is becoming more a romance than just a political bond. So the word is not, does not exist in Spanish, the word bromance, but I think it's pretty accurate for the relationship they've been building for the past year. And I think it's admiration for one side, mutual admiration. But in the other hand, I guess they're trying to imitate each other sometimes. I don't know if you can perceive that from the States. Here that I am in Argentina, that's a perception that are we having, especially because Donald Trump is not the Donald Trump from his first government, and Milei, he always claimed that he's not a political leader, and he's a man trying to look for his political style, to a way to do politics. Yeah, if I am.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
this, Agustina? Is life better for the average person in Argentina under Milei? Do they
Oh,
feel less pressure from their government than they did
oh
before?
man. Oh man, that's a pretty tricky question. I have friends in America, and they're always telling me, "Oh, it's so cool what Milei is doing in Argentina. We hope to Trump to do the same here in America." And I always trying to say to them, hold your horses. I mean, the things that Milei are doing are really amazing. This is the first time that we have a libertarian government. We never saw a president making this decision and putting them into practice. So the change in the daily life, it's are not really that strong. I mean, the inflation is going down for sure, but you can still feel that in your pockets, in your salary, in your lifestyle. But we all completely aware that this is going to take some time. I mean, we are fighting 70 years of populism, 70 years of government waste, 70 years of corruption. So we can expect from him to change everything in a year or two. This is going to take time. So we're being patient. We're being really, we still have our hopes really high, but this is not a game change just now. In fact, just today, he informed that they're gonna eliminate for complete the tariff for the importation of cell phones, video
Oh,
games, and tablets. That is pretty good, since buy technology in Argentina is really expensive, really, really expensive. So it's pretty common for people to go to the States and buy iPhones. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can name a brand. Um, to buy technology and gadgets, or even countries like Uruguay or Chile. We live right next to each other, but the prices are insanely different. So that's a
how
pretty good news.
curious. Why is it so much more? Now you got me curious.
Uh, because the previous government, uh, they had this protectionist ideas, and they were always trying to protect the national industry, but which national industry? It's really expensive. So that was simply a way to put more pressure in the products that we are receiving from the outside, and in a way to protect the things that we were manufacturing here. But it's not an industry per se. It's something that it's still building. We are not an industrial country like you guys in America.
Talk to me a little bit about, I know we've only got a little over a minute left here, but about Argentina and their relationship with China. I know the US is still sorting out its relationship with China. How do China
Yeah,
and Argentina
yeah,
interrelate?
I know Trump and Xi Jinping are in a really complex relationship now. It's just a way to say it. And with Milei and China, or more to say, with Argentina and China, it's kind of the same, because the we all know that China has this communist model in political terms, but it's pretty open what it's in the things that come to markets. So we are having China as our second partner in international trading, and we are rely on China in the exchange of money. See, we have this program called the swap money, and we are our central bank is receiving support from China to increase our reserves for dollars especially, and other international coins.
Wow. Well, it sounds like things will continue to be exciting. I'm saying that because that's very
Yeah,
positive.
that's a way to put it. Yeah, that's a way to call it. Yeah.
But as I sure appreciated your article, and again, we're talking with Agustina Sosa. For
Thank
those who are
you.
trying to find your work or who would like to follow you on social media, where is the best place to find you?
Maybe Instagram, where I'm go by Nina, Nina So. I'm gonna write down to you after.
Okay, very good. Thank you so
Uh,
much. We look forward to our next
can I say something
conversation.
more? Things in Argentina are challenging, but we're definitely having fun all the time. It's like always happening something. I think Milei has something to do with that. And I think you have the same perception with Trump too. I mean, we never get bored, that's for sure.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. It's, it was just such a nice break from the group that was in there that clearly I think were doing harmful things.
Yeah.
Um, but even now I'm realizing, there's some things Trump is doing that are very good. There's some things I'm just like, no, don't make the same mistakes. But
Yeah, it's exactly with Milei. They are two unpredictable type of people
yeah,
and very strong with his ideas, with their ideas.
well, I I hope things continue to go well. I I know I had a friend, Argentina went through the whole financial collapse back in it's been almost 20 years, right?
Oh, the 2001 crisis?
That
Yeah.
must have been it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, people in Argentina are saying we're lucky that we be able to stop for that thing happen again. We
Uh-huh.
were really close when Milei came into power. We were really close to repeat that situation, and Milei avoided.
Welcome back to Moving Forward with Young Voices. We're happy to welcome Isaiah Menning back to the program. Isaiah, good to have you on. For those meeting you for the very first time, take a moment and tell us about who you are and what you do.
Great, and thanks so much for having me on, Bryan. My name is Isaiah Menning. I'm the External Affairs Director at the American Conservation Coalition. And ACC's mission is to build the conservative environmental movement. We have grassroots chapters across the country. And ultimately, we're interested in building an environmental movement that is focused on building things, on abundance, and on innovation over regulation and over a kind of environmental perspective that's focused on restricting human activity. And so I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah originally, so I'm really excited to be talking with you today about this topic.
Yeah, I'm looking at a piece you wrote for the Deseret News about how cloud seeding can make the desert bloom, and the nation should follow Utah's lead. Now, where I live in South Central Idaho, right now, cloud seeding for some reason is quite a topic of concern. And I don't know for sure if it's because people are excited for the prospect or they're suspicious. Is it chemtrails? I don't know.
Right.
But tell me about Utah's example with cloud seeding. This is something that's actually been going on there for a while, isn't it?
Absolutely. So cloud seeding was actually first invented in the United States in 1953 in New York State. So this is a distinctly American technology and an American innovation. And Utah began testing out cloud seeding in the 50s as well. And in the 70s, actually began a consistent program to uh, use cloud seeding to increase the water supply for the state. And so basically how it works is you can take a drone or you can take a facility on the ground to seed clouds, put existing content into existing storm systems, and that's usually silver iodide, to increase the amount of snow or rain that you're getting from that cloud. And what that's able to do is drastically increase the amount of snowfall or rainfall that you get and help address our water problem. And so that's basically what cloud seeding is, but it's understandable. Some people, there's lots of misinformation going around about it. Some people think that it's dangerous or is involved in chemtrails, and that's just not true. This is a really important tool to be able to meet our water needs in a way that is abundance focused and not restriction focused.
Something you point out in your article is that China is apparently embracing cloud seeding wholeheartedly. What kind of experiences have they had?
Absolutely. So China is investing tons of money into cloud seeding. In fact, a number of years ago, they set an ambitious goal of actually increasing the amount of cloud seeding they're doing in order to meet about 10% of their water consumption across the entire country. And so China recognizes that water is critical for almost everything, for AI development, for agriculture, for even our ecosystems. And what they're doing is putting in a bunch of money in this and to use this technology for innovative ways, and not only for increasing water supply and snow supply. Some officials in China have actually reported that they've reduced disastrous weather events like hail using cloud seeding. And so at this moment, when we need to be supporting our farmers, when we need to be producing more food, when we need to be supporting our AI development in order to beat China, we can't let China get ahead of us in the cloud seeding race. And we especially shouldn't let them get ahead of us for concerns about its environmental impact that just aren't based in fact.
Now, clearly, there are some places where this is really not a concern. There are areas of the U.S. where rainfall is not an issue. Some friends were in Ketchikan, Alaska, the other day and sent pictures, and I went, "Oh, that's right. It rains a lot there." But for places like particularly the Southwest and Western U.S., boy, there's a lot of space there that could be made of good use. You know, through this cloud seeding technology. Tell me who supports it, who opposes it? Typically, where do you find the sides divided?
Absolutely. So the state of Utah is a leader on this, and the state of Utah supported cloud seeding for a long time because it works and it's helping us address our water problem. And so that's where most of the support is from common sense people who understand that this is an amazing and innovation-based technology that we can use to address our water needs. You've seen some opposition from it recently in states like Florida and a few others from people who I think are a little bit confused about its impacts. So some people will say that cloud seeding is related to so-called chemtrails and other things like that. They might even liken it to geoengineering, which is a process where you can potentially use particles to cool the entire Earth. That is not what cloud seeding is at all. It is targeted to specific storm systems, and the impacts are really quite local. And so you have some opposition in places like Florida for people who are a little bit confused, I think, about how this technology works. And they put it into a broader category of geoengineering. And they simply need to understand that it's not related to that at all. This is a different process. So that's generally where the lines are drawn. And then you have some people on the environmental side of things who might be concerned generally about human impact on the environment and human interaction with it. And I take a different perspective. I think that there's lots of dry areas in the West, and that it's our role as people to cultivate them. We've been doing this for decades and for hundreds of years in places like Utah. We understand that conservation is about building up our landscapes and making them better and improving them, and that by doing that with wise stewardship, we can get more natural resources out of it. And I think cloud seeding is part of that solution.
Okay, Isaiah, let me play devil's advocate for just a moment.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna push back mildly on the idea. Cloud seeding hasn't been around as long. I mean, you mentioned what in the 1950s it was first
Yeah.
invented.
Yep.
Hasn't been around as long as some of the other ways that people have learned to redirect water, irrigation, and so forth. Um, is it safe to say that we have a proven track record in terms of benefit gained versus costs incurred, which it sounds like are very, very low? Do we? Is it safe? Can we say that no, this is a safe, proven way and should move full steam ahead?
Absolutely. I think that the data are fairly clear on this. The GAO came out with a report, I think it was just last year, that showed that use of cloud seeding has almost no measurable environmental impact. Some people are concerned with the kinds of particles that are used to seed clouds, like silver iodide. And it's important to understand that silver iodide is actually less toxic than salt itself per unit basis. And so and you're using such a little amount of it that it has almost no impact on the entire system. And so what we're doing, for instance, in northern Utah right now, we're seeding clouds there over such a large amount of area that it's actually akin to the silver iodide's impact on that watershed is akin to putting 1 grain of salt into an Olympic-sized swimming pool, right? It has almost no impact whatsoever on the general operation of the system. And silver iodide is less toxic than salt itself. And so it's a very small impact that's being had and really has no measurable impact at all. So that's what I generally point to for people who are concerned with this. It's almost no different than what we're already doing to impact the environment and make it better.
Well, and the fact remains, no matter how you slice it, no matter how you feel about cloud seeding or other ways of getting water, water is 100% always an issue,
Absolutely.
particularly here in the West. And if it's not for agriculture, it's for, as you had mentioned, there's a lot of uh, Silicon Valley type, high tech industry that requires mass amounts of water and so forth. So where do they move from here? Is this a state by state kind of thing, or is this do we see the feds working to do something one size fits all?
Yeah, so I think it makes sense for the country as a whole to be invested in this amazing technology. As we see our competitors are heavily investing in and are seeing major benefits from it. Utah has already shown that there are major benefits from cloud seeding. I think I'd love to see the federal government recognize the importance of this for national security as an innovation-based approach to our environmental challenges. And so some amount of support for that kind of innovation would be wonderful from the federal government, and particularly to address some of our challenges, not only for AI and water, but for things like wildfires. And I'm saying that, cloud seeding isn't the only solution to our water challenge. It should definitely be a part of the toolkit in addition to the other tools that we have in there in a unique way that can benefit the environment and people at the same time.
And just to make clear, we're not talking about, this is not some magical, we point the system this way and it makes it rain there. It's a lot more. It's not
Yep.
full on weather modification,
No.
but it's clearly working. So
Clearly working, and it's inspired by natural processes. How clouds usually are give rain is essentially you get dust that goes into the cloud, and then it causes that to rain. What we're doing with cloud seeding is just preempting that process, and putting silver iodide in instead of dust, and then you cause it to rain or snow. And so it's just using how nature already works and enhancing it in a way that people have been doing for thousands of years.
All right, we are talking with Isaiah Menning. He is a Young Voices contributor. And Isaiah, where can people find you on social media?
Sure. So best place to find me on social media is on my X or Twitter account at just Isaiah Menning. That's ISAIAH Menning, MENNING.
Wonderful to talk with you. Hope we get to do this again soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Bryan. I appreciate it.
Welcome back. This is our final segment today of Moving Forward with Young Voices. Happy to welcome Alejandro Ramos back to the program. For those meeting you for the very first time, take just a moment. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So my name is Alejandro Ramos. I am the executive director of the Ramos Research Institute, and I am currently based out of Cornell University as a Brooks Public Policy Fellow.
Very nice. By the way, I loved the article that you wrote for the DC Journal about why civic education must be at the forefront of reform. And before I go a step further, Alejandro, talk to me a little bit about when we talk civic education. Some people will hear that phrase and think, ah, yes, voting, and it stops right there. But when we talk about civics and understanding the way society works, what does that encompass?
So to me, and like you said, everyone thinks of it a little bit differently, but civics to me and the work that I've done in my research really means four things. The first is understanding the foundations of our country, right? Understanding our founding documents, why our country is the way that it is, and understanding the history. The second is being able to be media literate, to be able to consume information and be critical about it, not just take in information and say, oh, this is great, but to really think of the information that one is consuming. The third is something that I like to call courageous dialogue, and it's being able to have conversations with people that disagree with you, right? To not go right away and if, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, to say, oh, well, you're stupid, Bryan, because I disagree with what you're saying. But it's to be able to say, well, let's find common ground and let's have these really difficult conversations and actually talk about the policy behind it instead of jumping down each other's throat. And lastly, the fourth pillar would be giving back to the community in some way, shape, or form through a project, through community engagement, community service hours, doing something of the sorts that it's not just consuming information and being able to have these skills, but after learning these first three pillars, then being able to go out into the world and do something good for everyone.
Man, I love it. It's comprehensive, but let's talk about some of the conditions that make it necessary for us to revisit the topic of civic education. What are some of the things that keep us from being engaged civically today?
Well, I think with youth, and my piece specifically focused on the youth, there's a few things that are sort of barriers, one could call them. The first would be, I think, this era of polarization that we're living in. Why? I mean, if you think of it from our perspective, Bryan, why would a young kid, 18 years old, 17 years old, care about politics when they see their parents are arguing? You get together for Thanksgiving and everyone's just screaming and complaining, and you're like, oh, I want to get the heck out of here and just go play with my cousins, right? So it's, I think that's the first barrier, is this era of polarization that really seems to be dragging us all apart. And I think that the youth really want, or for the most part, at least some of them, want nothing to do with it because they're like, oh, I've seen this story. I know how it ends. I don't want to deal with it. I think the second component is this era that we're living in, that everything can be done via the phone. And you have people that are behind their screens, super active on social media, right? This whole term of social activism, but through social media. And it's really hard to translate that and to get people out of that. It's sure you could post these graphics and you could do all these things, which, by the way, a lot of them on both sides of the aisle tend to be, very full of misinformation. But then they don't act on it, right? It's hard to get them out to the polls. If you look at the past two presidential elections, in 2024, only 42% of the vote turned out for the youth vote, whereas in 2020 it was 50%. So you're seeing a decline, right? Everyone thought, oh, in 2024 it's going to be up to 55 or 60% because everyone is so engaged. People are disengaging, and we need to be able to, and I think by addressing these 4 points through the pillars that I mentioned and being able to get people to have conversations again, I think we could get to a point where people are getting back to what you think, like you mentioned, a lot of people think civics is just going out to vote.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about the conversations too. This is one of the places where I don't know if maybe I'm laying the blame at the feet of social media, but people have forgotten how to disagree politically to where, I've had people say, well, I can't associate with someone who would associate with someone who believes that, or, and it's like, holy cow, you're setting up a whole lot of conditions under which you can associate with anybody.
Exactly.
But people who can, what is it called? It's acceptance without conformity. It's the same thing we put into practice. You're wearing a blue shirt with this type of collar. I'm wearing this kind of shirt. The fact that you're wearing a different shirt than me is in no way threatening or should be considered threatening, and shouldn't be the basis on which I decide whether, well, I don't know, if you had a button-up shirt, I'd feel a lot better. If that makes sense. It's just we've lost that ability to have those conversations where we can disagree and still be okay with each other.
Absolutely. And I think that, quite frankly, it's a sad thing, but I'll take it even a step further from what you've said, Bryan. I think people are forgetting how to be human. Forget about being able to have conversations. We are so stuck, man, I don't even know where my phone is right now, but we're stuck behind these devices, right? That, that's all people understand. You look at kids now. I see my cousins, the way that they're raising their kids, and it's just, oh, you want to scream? Here's an iPad. Oh, whatever, here's a device. And, I think that's doing a lot of harm to society. And I think it speaks to these broader societal issues that we're having right now, that people are not able to, right? By nature, humans crave to be in community, and humans desire to have these interactions. But I think that because of these devices sort of getting in the way of that and sort of dividing, us from each other, not just politically, but physically, you have this other layer of it that I think becomes really challenging to sort of deal with and face in society. So while I think that the politics behind it and being able to have these political conversations are important, I wish that we could do something about society as a whole and us losing, the meaning of what it means to be people, and be social individuals. And not too long ago, I was on another program, and it was when the outages in Spain had happened. I have never seen, I'm 23 years old, I'll be 24 in a few days. I have never seen in my life people so happy. No one had access to their devices because they either stopped working or, the Wi-Fi was out, and people were singing and dancing in the streets. People were people again. Oh my God. And I watched those videos and my eyes swelled up and I said, wow, I wish we could do this all the time.
Talk to me about the citizenship empowerment framework that you are working on through the Ramos Research Institute.
Sure. So because I mentioned my definition of civics earlier, that is exactly the project that we're developing, is these 4 pillars that could be implemented in higher education and in high schools to really have students gain these skills to be better members of society and to get back to the building blocks of being humans, right? Understanding the history of our country, understanding to consume media, having this courageous dialogue component, and then going out into society in whatever way possible, even if you think it's minuscule enough, what I'm doing really doesn't make a difference. Going out there and touching one person's life could set off a domino effect that does great for the world.
Oh, I love how you put that. And to me, it's the idea that, leadership is using your influence wisely wherever you are at that particular moment. So, That's real. It's smart that you're encouraging people. Don't just look for big, news headline worthy wins. Little wins count too, and they definitely add up.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we look for a lot, is these big things, but just do one little thing and you never know how that's going to change someone or change the community around you.
Okay, let's get people connected with some information here then. If people
Sure.
would like some more information on this project that you're working on, the Citizen Empowerment Framework, how do they go about getting that?
Sure, they could visit our website at ramosresearchinstitute.org. And I love connecting with people, so you could email me directly at ajr@ramosresearchinstitute.org. And I'd love to connect with people regarding this project.
Okay, another thing for those who want to follow you and otherwise access your work, whether it be on social media or otherwise, where all can they do that?
Sure. So on X, you could find me at Alejandro Jose Ramos. And that's the only social media platform I have to have these discussions and to do these things.
All right. Well, I wish you the very best on this. I'm a believer
Brian.
in the message that you're carrying, and it's people don't know what they don't know until it's shown to them. So I hope you find fertile ground and that this is an idea that takes off like crazy. Thanks again, Alejandro.
Thank you, Brian. Talk soon.